Hello student, myself Kinjal Mistry. I am lecturer in computer department of VPMP Polytechnic. Welcome to online video session. Today my topic name is differentiate procedure oriented programming language, object oriented programming language and event driven programming language. And my chapter name is Introduction to Window Common Controls. In this video lecture we learn following topic. First, we learn procedure-oriented programming language. Second, we learn object-oriented programming language. And then third, we learn event-driven programming language. And then we differentiate different type of programming language like POP and OOP, then POP and ADP, and POP and EDP. And last, we differentiate OOP and EDP programming language. Now first, what is procedure-oriented programming language? It is also called POP programming language. Procedure-oriented programming language is a programming language in which programs are divided into smaller programs known as function or subrouting. This program executes in specific of instruction. Generally, POP is used to develop simple application. Now, example of POP are C, COBOL, Fortune, etc. Then, next programming language is Object-Oriented Programming Language. It is also called OOP programming language. Object-Oriented Programming Language is a programming language in which programs are divided into objects and different classes. This program executes as the object of classes involved function of the classes. Object-oriented programming language contain advanced features like object, class, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, etc. Generally, object-oriented programming language is used to develop large and complex applications. Now, the example of object-oriented programming language are C++, Java, etc. Then we discuss event-driven programming language. Event-driven programming language is a programming language in which the flow of the program is determined by event. Example of event are mouse click, keyboard press, then etc. Now, EDP support graphical user interface GUI. It means user can directly interact with an application through the controls. Variety of control are used to design and work with EDP-based application. And each control has its separate property, method and event. Now, what is different type of control? Like we use button, label, text box. This is the different type of controller in EDP programming language. The example of EDP programming language are VB.NET, C#.NET, ASP.NET, etc. Differentiate between POP and OOP programming language. Procedure-oriented programming language like POP and object-oriented programming language is OOP. Now, POP emphasis an algorithm like procedure. OOP emphasis on data rather than procedure. Now, second point, in POP, large programs are divided into smaller programs known as function. In OOP, programs are divided into objects. Now, third point, they have not facility to hide data, and OOP have facility to hide data from outside world. In POP, from design program it is used top-down approach, and OOP design program it use bottom-up approach. Now, next point, in POP, function can transfer data from one function to another and one form to another form. In OOP, object can communicate with each other using function. Now next point in POP, it does not have powerful features like operator, overloading, inheritance, etc. In next point of OOP is it contains powerful features like operator overloading, inheritance, etc. Then last point of POP is example of POP language is C, COBOL, Fortran, etc. And the example of OOP language is C++ and Java. Now differentiate between POP and EDP programming language. Procedure-oriented programming language means POP language and event-driven programming language means EDP language. Now, POP support character user interface CUI. EDP support graphical user interface means GUI. Then second point, POP emphasize on algorithm means procedure and EDP emphasize on event rather than the procedure. Then next point in POP is large program are divided into small program is called function. In EDP program are divided into event of several controller. Now next point in POP is for design program it is used top-down approach. And next point of EDP is for design program approach is event-driven approach. Now next point in POP is in POP there is no any features like controls. In EDP various control are used and each control has various property, method and event. Now next point in POP language is in POP user cannot directly interact with an application graphically. User can interact through code because POP supports CUI. In next point of EDP language is EDP user can directly interact with an application graphically. It support GUI. EDP support GUI form. Now the last point, the example of POP language is C, COBOL, Fortran, etc. And the last point of EDP programming language is example of EDP programming language is VB.NET, C#.NET and ASP.NET. Now differentiate between OOP and EDP programming language. Object-oriented programming language is also called OOP programming language. Event-driven programming language is also called EDP programming language. Now first point, OOP support character user interface CUI. Then EDP support graphical user interface GUI. OOP emphasize on data. EDP emphasize on event rather than data. Now next point, in OOP program are divided into object and classes. In EDP program are divided into event of several control. The next point, in OOP program execute as the object of class involve function of that class. In EDP program execute as the user interact with the control and associate with it event file. Now next point, in OOP classes can be created and user and each classes can have data, function and property. In EDP various control are used and each control has various property, method and event. In OOP user cannot directly interact with an application graphically. User can interact through code because OOP support GUI. In EDP, user can directly interact with an application graphically because EDP support GUI. The next point of OOP programming language is OOP programming language use bottom-up approach. In next point of EDP programming language is EDP programming language use event-driven approach. Now last point of OOP programming language is the example of OOP programming language are C++ and Java. And the last point of event-driven programming language is VB.NET and C#.NET. Thank you.